Tonight, we start with what's cooking in the US. Joe Biden is struggling with a major crisis at home, arguably the biggest of his presidential stint so far. If he fails to contain it, it will hurt the whole world. It will have an impact on all of us. What are we talking about? The US debt crisis. Their government is running out of money. We've been telling you about this. They have a limit on how much money the government can borrow. It's called the debt ceiling. That limit is a little over $31 trillion. It sounds like a lot of money, but the US government has spent most of it. So now they need more money to run the country, to pay for their schemes, to give salaries to their employees. Where will this money come from? The government will have to borrow. But to be able to borrow, they must increase the debt ceiling. And to increase the debt ceiling, they need the opposition party, that is the Republicans, on board. That is the rub. The Republicans won't agree. They've had multiple meetings. They keep saying they're making progress, but they haven't agreed to a deal. And time is running out. The US has 1 week to fix this. Some debt payments are due as early as the 1st of June. They need money for that, else they will default. In other words, the US could default as early as next Thursday. Joe Biden realizes how critical this is. He cancelled his trip to Australia for this. It led to the cancellation of the Quad Summit. He rushed back home to meet the Republicans, but to no avail. The US is now barreling towards a debt default. If it happens, it will be the first in American history. So a deal shouldn't even be a matter of discussion. But it has become a contested issue thanks to the divisions in American politics. Their national prestige is on the line. Their economy could sink, but Democrats and Republicans cannot resolve their differences. Yesterday, Biden met this man. His name is Kevin McCarthy, a Republican leader and the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. This is the lower house of the U.S. Congress. Republicans command a majority in this house, and this is where Biden's deal is stuck. He needs McCarthy to sell the debt deal to Republicans. As Biden went into the meeting, he sounded optimistic.
We're optimistic we may be able to make some progress because we both agreed default's not really on the table. We've got to get something done here.
He may have spoken too soon. Biden's meeting with McCarthy lasted for an hour. They called it productive, but it did not yield a deal.
I thought the meeting was productive. I thought it was more productive than the other meetings we've had, but we still have differences.
We still have differences, he says. Fundamentally, this is about how the U.S. government spends its money and where it spends that money. The Republicans think the Democrats are overspending. They want sweeping cuts in the budget. Spending worth $4 trillion to be slashed, that's what they want. But the Democrats refuse to do this. Their offer is to keep the spending flat, meaning the existing budget stays and they won't spend a penny more.
Now it's time for the other side to move from their extreme positions because much of what they've already proposed is simply, quite frankly, unacceptable.
That's where the deadlock is. Budget cuts. Republicans want them, Democrats don't. What is the way out? Kevin McCarthy was asked about this. What would it take to break the deadlock? You know what his reply was? June 1. The deadline, the date on which America is expected to default. That was his answer. It seems like the Republicans want this to go down to the wire. Experts are calling this impasse outrageous.
Well, to be frank, I think it's quite ridiculous that we're doing this again, right? I feel like it just shows the rest of the world how dysfunctional our government has been over the last 10, 15 years. And, you know, in my eyes, we're playing Russian roulette with the United States credit.
Playing Russian roulette with U.S. credit. That does seem to be the case here. American lawmakers are behaving irresponsibly. They're flirting with default, and this could have serious repercussions. If a deal is delayed, it will lead to uncertainty. Investors may choose to pull their money. There will be a crisis of confidence. This impasse is hurting the credibility of the U.S. financial system, and it's not something you can undo overnight. The worst-case scenario will be a default. If that happens, all bets are off. It's hard to really predict the exact outcomes. It will shake up global markets and trigger a huge sell-off on Wall Street. There could be bankruptcies. The U.S. dollar could weaken, and all this will have ripple effects across the world. Prices of commodities like oil could go up. Even wheat could become more expensive, especially for countries that import these goods and pay in the US dollar. People who invest in the US markets could see losses. Pension accounts with investments in US stocks could see their corpus decline. The impact will be significant and far-reaching. But American lawmakers can't seem to see beyond their petty politics. They're willing to risk a default only to make the other side look bad.